Good morning, all. Good to see you all here on this beautiful Sunday morning. I want to just preach for a few moments on the apostles speaking that statement to the Lord. Lord, increase our faith. So 3 quick parts to this little homily. A statement of fact, a question, and then a how going forward. Question, a statement of fact, a question, and then a how going forward. All under the theme of, Lord, increase our faith. So the statement of fact. At any one point in time, you and I, are either increasing in faith or decreasing. It's actually not the case that we're merely static or stationary. Think about just about anything in life. Remember that if you've ever studied like Greek philosophy, there's that famous quote from Heraclitus who said, "One cannot step into the same river twice." Of course, the first time I heard that, I was like, that seems to be a lie. I've stepped into the Rush River, Wisconsin, plenty of times. It's the same Rush River. His point is not in name, but think about even about like the biology and natural science. When you step into a river, it's by definition moving. There's a current. There's all this change going on. And so you step in at one time, and then at another time, it's a different series of the flow of water. The rocks have changed. The leaves might be on or off the water. Everything has changed. It's like that in so many areas of our natural human existence. Because we live in time, and time is simply a unit or a measure of change, so too in the human person. We're never quite the same. I mean, like sometimes, we look a little better than yesterday. Sometimes we look a little worse than yesterday. There's always kind of like this flux. We're getting older, all that. And so too in the life of the soul in relation to God, in the matters of faith, it's never just, I'm static, I'm stationary, I'm all right. We are either on the upward trajectory of growth, of development, or on the downward side of more decay, or going down from God. And so it's helpful just to be kind of interiorly convicted. The gospel is for today. We want to respond today, because this is really the time of salvation. Jesus is here, and I want to respond to him like real time, present moment. Okay, so that's the quick statement of fact. Now the question, Lord, increase our faith. But the question is, why is this so difficult? Did you hear the first reading in the book of the prophet Habakkuk? Hard word to say, Habakkuk. But you hear it is this not a lament for many people throughout the world right now, with everything going on? Lord, I cried to you for help, and you don't seem to listen. I'm calling out, and you don't seem to hear. Why is faith so seemingly so difficult? Well, one reality is it's an old movie, but a lot of us have seen it. Remember the old movie, The Matrix? Remember Neo? And remember Neo, he's whatever, but then he's coming to learn Kung Fu. Remember that scene? Again, my last name being Anderson, every college course I ever started in the fall semester, they would take roll call, and the professor was like, and I was Anderson, so I was at the top of the list. And Mr., do you ever get called? I'm like, yes, my goodness, every single time. Mr. Anderson. Anyways, remember that scene where he's learning Kung Fu? Well, he gets that download. He's got that wire, and it goes right into his brain. And then it's for a couple hours, he's like, da-doon, da-doon. He's kind of getting this digital download to learn Kung Fu in his brain. And then when he comes out of it, he's like, I know Kung Fu. And Morpheus is like, show me. And then they have that epic battle. Anyways, the point being, faith, because it's a virtue, can never be downloaded, but only developed. And why has God put us on this earth in the first place? For a purpose, for a mission, which we develop in. We cannot download our mission. Part of our growth in becoming saints, capable of the vision of God, is to develop. And development is work. And so while faith is a gift, it's a grace, it's also something I cooperate with. Who is our father in faith? Who is our father in faith? Abraham. Okay, I heard a few people over here. You in the back. Abraham back there. Remember the story of Abraham? He's our father in faith, our patriarch, because why? The Lord, at the ripe old age of like 90 plus, he's like, Abraham, who had all these flocks of goats and sheep and a wife and children, it was like, The Lord is like, leave everything and go to a place that I will show you. He's like, where's that? And the Lord's like, hold on one second, I will give you the GPS coordinates. He didn't say that. He said, to a land that I will show you. It's kind of like a non-answer. In other words, he had to seek in order to find. He had to walk in order to see. He had to develop into the virtue of faith. Why is this so hard? Well, this question comes up very often, even for very good Catholics. Sometimes we're questioning matters of doctrine, like, how can I believe this? Or where is God in a particular circumstance? Well, again, this question is as old as life itself, and I just want to read you an extended quote from a mystic of the church. And her name was Saint Bridget of Sweden. Look into the lives of the saints. Like, read the life of Saint Bridget of Sweden. Such a variegated life. She was a wife, she was a mother, she had a number of children. When her husband died, she started a religious order, and she started to receive mystical revelations from Jesus himself. Ultimately, she is one of the co-patronesses of all of Europe, along with St. Benedict and more. And at one point, St. Bridget asks Jesus, when he was personally in a vision with her, she asks him this, "O good judge, I ask you, why do you not cause your glory to be seen by humans in this life so that we would more fervently desire it?" He answered, "My glory cannot be spoken, and it cannot be compared to any other sweetness or goodness. Therefore, if my glory were to be seen as it is, then man's perishable body would weaken and fail, as did the senses of those who saw my glory on the mountain." He's referring to the transfiguration. Remember, Jesus gave just a glimpse of the light of God. He became like brighter than the sun, and the apostles were like, "Ah!" They could not withstand it because they had not developed through the passion, through growth. Jesus continues, "And also because of the soul's joy at seeing me, the body would faint from its labor and would be incapable of physical activities. Therefore, because there is no entrance into heaven without the labor of the virtues, and so that faith may have its reward, and the body may be capable of work, my glory is hidden for a time, in order that through desire and faith it may be seen all the more fully and happily in the vision of my glory forever." God does not want to hide from us, but for us. And in order to see him, I have to develop as a person. I cannot merely download it. It's not an AI thing. It's not just your friend said this. It's not my parents were Catholic, so I can kind of ride on their backs, so to speak, into faith. Everyone must have a response to the gift of faith, which at times is very difficult because we walk by faith and not so much by sight or the senses. Lastly, I'll just say on this part, a great saint who is incredibly intelligent, his name was St. Anselm. He's one of the doctors of the Catholic Church. St. Anselm was an incredible mind, and sometimes those who have the most incredible minds sometimes struggle the most in faith because we want to understand everything in order to follow it. And St. Anselm was pondering this mystery, such a gifted man of the intellect, and this is back in the Middle Ages. And finally, through the light of a gift of faith, he coined this phrase, which was one of his personal mottos. And in Latin, the words are, "Fides quaerens intellectum," which means faith that seeks to understand. Notice how sometimes, maybe even oftentimes, we kind of get it the other way around, as did he for a while. I will understand first, and then I can have faith. And until all my questions, concerns, and doubts are fully present and I can understand them with certitude, then I can have faith. And we're like, Lord, give me that kind of understanding, and then I'll have faith. And we have it backwards. And St. Anselm, one of those gifted minds and a great saint, said, no. First start with a fundamental belief, and then we can grow to understand. Much like, let me give you one little analogy. We have a lot of people that are dating right now, some people that are married here, and perhaps many more that would like to date and be married. Okay, take this little example for a moment. Suppose you're dating someone, and we all come in with kind of like difficulties in dating, for various reasons. And sometimes we might have a fear that the person that we're dating or married to might cheat on us. Now, you love this person, you like this person, you're growing in them, you do trust them, but there's some part of you that sometimes doesn't trust them. And sometimes if we take this a little too far, just imagine this case. Suppose you wanted to run like a test case scenario. So you kind of believe, but you don't really believe because you want to have certitude that they're never going to cheat on you. And so you go on Amazon and you buy a lot of those little cameras, little ones, and you start putting them up everywhere in the person's life without them knowing it. Their car. You put a little GPS tracking device under their wheel well. So you're like, I'm going to find out exactly where they're going. And then at work, too, you sneak in on Friday night into their cubicle at their office and you put it right there. I'm going to watch how they interact with their workers. And then you just watch these cameras. Like, I want to have trust, but I want to make sure first in order to trust. And so you watch all these cameras. It's like a part-time job. And you're like looking at this potential spouse. You're like, well, they haven't fallen yet, but I better keep watching. And you keep watching, and you keep watching. And you want to trust, but you're like, I don't know if I can trust him or her. And then when that goes on for a while and you don't see a particular fall, we're like, well, I must not have enough cameras. So you buy more cameras. You put you download something on their phone when they're not looking, and so you can see everything that's going on, and still nothing is working. Like, oh. C.S. Lewis famously said that suspicion creates its own reality. And sometimes when we start with distrust, and in order to get my certitude, then I can trust, it'll never happen. So we must have a fundamental like, I believe, help my unbelief. Lord, increase my faith. I do believe, but help me believe more. Now, all of a sudden, God can begin to disclose himself because there's that fundamental trust of him. Finally, okay, so a statement, a fact. At any given time, we're either going up or down, never static or stationary. The question, why is this so hard? Because faith, while a gift, is part of our development and cannot merely be downloaded. And third and final, how? How do I grow in my faith? A million things we could say about that. But I'm just going to say simply, if you want to grow in your faith, apply your faith. Many people kind of wait in this kind of like little, I'm just going to wait until God kind of does something. I'm going to sit, and oftentimes we're sitting, if we're being honest, in near occasions of sin. What if we were to start putting ourselves in near occasions of grace? Near occasions where faith can happen. At the end of this Mass, like at every Mass, we're going to make some announcements. Some of the announcements will be about doing some things. First, we're going to have some mission trips. We're going to Ireland. We're going to Africa. We're going this. And everyone's like, yes, but I need to study. Yes, you do. And you also want deeper faith. Well, yes, studying is part of that. But have you ever applied your faith if you want to grow in your faith? We're going to announce we have some Bible studies. You're like, well, I can't do that. I'm too busy studying biology, not Bible studies. And yet I want to grow in faith. Well, yes, you can grow in your faith by studying biology because God created everything. But why not simply step into it? We're going to have some announcements about small groups. You're like, yes, I would like to grow in my faith, but I don't have time. Well, never in the history of the University of Minnesota has anyone ever said, I've got time for that. Doesn't happen. If we want faith and God wants to give it, he's not hiding from us. He's hiding for us. He wants to disclose, but only in the measure that one sets out on the way. Pope Benedict said this, and I will end with this. Pope Benedict famously said, "The Christian life is not found by a permanently neutral observer, but is discovered and disclosed in the measure in which one sets out on the way to seek him." Amen.